Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Jordan Garber Now podcast. And I am here with none other than the man himself. I'm going to let him introduce himself, actually, because it's great to have him on the show. A standout in the Alberta scene. He does what I do. He probably does a little better. So allow him to introduce himself.
Okie dokie, folks. It's me, Kyle Shaw, aka the Canadian Goose, from Real Canadian Wrestling, and I'm happy to be here, Jordan.
Absolutely, and you know what? It is great having you on the program. You've always been a big part of the Alberta wrestling scene a lot these past 2 years. Kind of tell us, to outsiders, to go to if they go to the Alberta scene for the first time, what are they going to expect? Especially with the wrestling they have right now with RCW Friday Night Fights and Saturday Night something. They RCW
Fights.
Saturday Night Fights, Friday and Saturday Night Fights. RCW has some big things coming up, so just tell the outsiders, like, what is it like, checking out an RCW show and checking out the Alberta scene altogether?
Well, like in the midst of the pandemic right now, there is some guidelines in place. We have a strong preference if people wear masks. It's mandatory in Calgary and Edmonton to wear masks. However, like once you're seated, and if you're eating or something, oh, sorry, my phone just went off. If you're eating or something, then it's cool to take them off. But yeah, so we prefer that you wear a mask. There is also like a limit of the amount of people. We're only allowed to have 100 fans in the crowd. But we are still putting on some wild and crazy matches. We've just been doing the hardcore tournament recently. So Friday night, the new RCW hardcore champion, the Viking Lord Vince Austin, was crowned in what I heard was a crazy brawl. Yeah, like last week they had Jason the Terrible in. He was actually in this week too, but last week they were doing all kinds of nutty stuff with like light bulb tubes and whatnot, which really isn't like my cup of tea. But if you're into like violent, crazy action, that's going on right now. We also have like heavy metal is fantastic, and him and All American Sexy Steve Rivers have been feuding. Rivers basically just joined up with a whole bunch of other guys, and last night Rivers and Wild and Tyrone Ironside and all them boys, they ended up getting suspended for putting a wild, crazy beat down on a bunch of guys using flash paper and all kinds of stuff. So it's really like the shows are wild and crazy, and there's a lot of energy and excitement in all of them because like there's nothing else going on, right? Like it's a pandemic, so if you want live entertainment, your options in Edmonton are pretty much, and Calgary are pretty much limited to live professional wrestling, which is always a good time.
Pretty much, and that's what the thing about Alberta does is like they do a really good job at providing wrestling during the pandemic, and not just that, but in a safe manner. So
Yeah.
that's what a lot of comparisons go to, and creates the final decision when it comes to buying a ticket. Let's say when the pandemic is over, people are going to remember the strides companies like RCW made to try to make it economical and fair for everybody. And I think at the end of the day, that's one of the hardest things to do, but RCW has been hitting the nail right on the head there. But let's talk about 2019. You had a really big year there. You worked with the likes of worked against the likes of Big Jess Youngblood and Heavy Metal and some other top talent. I'm just looking back on your file here, and I see New Year's Rampage. You faced NVR. You faced Steven Styles. Had some great matches. Steve Rivers, who's a veteran. Zach Mercury, also known as Coda, and Dwight Davis. So out of all of those, like, where was the chemistry coming in, and when did it start to come into play, and when did you start to just learn more and more at this time?
Well, honestly, like Heavy Metal is probably the person that's like taught me the most out of wrestling. Like, just like he's got such a good mind for it and knows how to explain everything and lay everything out in such a way that uh, it's effective. So I love wrestling with Metal. I love learning from him and whatnot. I'm currently enrolled in his wrestling school because as far as I'm concerned, you shouldn't just go to wrestling school for 3 months, graduate, be a wrestler, and not train anymore. You should keep up your training, and that's what I'm doing at Top Talent Wrestling Academy under Heavy Metal, and MRB is there as well, so that's really good. I've learned a lot from him. I've never had any actual like matches with him on shows or anything, because he wrestles for PWA. Um, Also, the Viking Lord Vince Austin, I have to give a shout out to him. He's been like a huge, like one of my best opponents and a huge supporter of mine. And then, yeah, like me and Squig have had multiple matches. Um, and, me and Squig are not Benoit and Angle, so from a technical standpoint, they probably weren't fantastic. But I remember we've had a couple that were like really good, like Gaga style, like stuff. We did the only ever Baconator on a pole match
Oh
was
wow.
me versus Steven Styles. Yeah, it was fun.
No, that does sound a lot of fun. Um, when it comes down to learning and just you learned a lot of that from heavy metal. But talk about working in front of crowds. What are some places in Alberta, whether that's in Edmonton or Calgary or somewhere else even, but not just those places, but those venues that you really enjoyed working in front of and developing a great relationship with the crowd from.
Well, definitely like Edmonton and Calgary are my two favorite places to wrestle. Also, Red Deer has a fantastic scene. I've ever never actually been able to wrestle in Red Deer though. I've announced many shows there. I've refereed at a few shows there, and I was a mysterious manager one time at a show in Red Deer. I'd love to wrestle in Red Deer because I used to live there and I have some friends there and stuff. But it just hasn't been in the cards so far. But Red Deer's fantastic. I've worked in Bonnyville, Radway, Onway, Medicine Hat. I've announced in. Uh, yeah, all over Alberta. Like we've done shows everywhere. Pinoca. I could keep naming small towns that nobody in Winnipeg's ever heard of, but
I remember Bonnyville actually. Bonnyville is a nice town.
Bonnyville's where I debuted.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
had
you
my
made your
first match
debut.
in Bonnyville in 2018
That's
for
wonderful.
Lakeland Pro Wrestling.
So let's talk about that. Actually, it's kind of go down to that. There's a lot of people that receive the training and they're ready to go and they're ready to do it. But there's a lot of people like that drop out of training and they have their debut and they get killed in there. What was your debut like? You had some pretty good training from heavy metal. So did you feel you were ready at the time?
Well, at the time, heavy metal school wasn't set up yet, so I actually was trained by Andrew Hawk.
That's correct. My
Um,
apologies.
oh no, that's okay, bud. Yeah, so I was training under Andrew Hawks. He had a training ring set up in his backyard, and he was training me and a couple other guys. And I think it was like a month in, and then Squig said, "Oh, I'm going to do this show up in Bonnyville, and I got you booked." And I was nowhere near ready, but it was like I've got this opportunity, and I've wanted to be a wrestler for like 20 years, so I'm not gonna just say no. So I had my first match. In all, like for what it was, I thought it was, I mean, it wasn't horrible. It was, you know, but it was definitely not as good as it could have been. You know what I mean? I mean, everybody's first match is pretty rough usually, but yeah, it was okay. It
You know,
was fun.
I'm recording this as of remembering my last match I refereed. And I did make a post about this on social media. Got to gain some weight to return to training in the ring for myself. As
Oh,
weight,
okay. I didn't know. Do you wrestle as well, or do you
uh,
just
I'm a referee
train to
too,
ref?
actually. I'm a referee, and I'm actually training to enhance my referee skills and training the ref and training to wrestle as well. So what I'm
That's
trying to
good.
do is I have a whole mainframe podcasting background, and I lost 15 pounds, and I'm already really skinny as it is. So
Hmm.
basically, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna continue to deliver a solid product, solid podcast, and then when I get back into shape, I'm gonna be doing that again. Now I did the Northern Death Tour, and
Oh, wow,
that
cool.
was amazing as a referee. That was really cool. So I know I can make those strides, but I don't want to kill myself doing them if I'm not at the right weight. Like if you want to be, and that goes to anybody listening. Like if you want to be even not just a wrestler but a referee, like you got to be in shape for it. That's why I'm pulling
Yeah, it's
myself
tough.
out. It's a
Like
very good
I mean, I would
perspective.
never claim to be like a specimen of physical fitness myself, but it is something that I work at. Like the training we do at Top Talent is very vigorous.
Absolutely, I love it.
Yeah, but it's
I
it,
wish I could go.
it's yeah, it's awesome. It's really good.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I do got to give credit where credit is due to a top talent wrestling academy now. There's a lot of guys there that love what Jordan Garber's about and love his work, and there's some people that are like meh, and they have every right to, because those guys are some of the best trainers like you could ever learn from in Canadian wrestling. And it's great how we have a solid program in Manitoba for training now, and now there's a solid program in Alberta. So that just creates more opportunities and more work for hardworking individuals. So if I want to be a ref again and get in there, like, then I'm gonna have to pay those dues and continue to do so. And that's what I'm learning now. But you know what? Like, once again, I never regret being a podcaster. And as much as I love getting in the ring and being a referee, especially for my next question, I'm gonna ask you. I just enjoy being the podcaster. If I had to choose one, I had to choose that. But if when it comes down to one thing there, Mr. Shaw, you've worked with two guys. My last match, what I was trying to get to, is my last match was Mitch Clark versus Sean Martins. And
Oh, okay.
I just kind of wanted to have you share any experiences or stories with those two. Those guys have some big numbers here on our podcast. Lots of listeners overseas listening to that podcast. So kind of tell our listeners that listen to that interview, listening now, kind of some stories you had with them or some things they taught you along the way, man.
Well, honestly, like I know Mitch Clark and Sean Martins. I have wrestled Sean Martins on a couple of occasions. We did a one-on-one match. It was actually the match between me and Sean Martins was the first match in the decade of 2020s in all of Alberta. It was me versus Sean Martins in Calgary.
Wow.
And then the next night we wrestled. It was a tag team match, me and Machete against Sean Martins and Bryce the Slammer Sova. As far as Mitch Clark is concerned, I haven't had a lot of matches with him. I've interacted with him. He's come and he's wrestled a couple of other guys on our shows, but not me. But yeah, he's a solid, like, he's a UFC fighter, man. He's deadly.
No, it was really good. I had some great conversations with him after that match, and he's a really good guy. Like, he's learned from some of the best in the UFC on his wrestling game. He came into UFC with a wrestling background, and now he's in pro wrestling. And he can kind of have some fun now with some of those things he learned in UFC. He can transition that to some of his moves. So I like to do a top three here every single show. It's usually a top positive three experiences you've had. Whatever category that matches. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place today. I had like 3 cups of coffee, and I already have to go to work at 2, and I'm just like, I'm already highly caffeinated. So if I sound all over the place, I apologize. But for the top 3 there, Mr. Shaw, we're going to do in-ring chemistry. 3 opponents you had the best in-ring chemistry with, and go.
Oh, 3 opponents I've had the best in-ring chemistry with. Well, Vince Austin is up there for sure. I would also say Heavy Metal, because just every match I've had with him has been good. And I also really love working with Slammer, Bryce the Slammer Sova.
Yeah,
He's
Sam is a good
fantastic.
guy.
Yeah.
He also did the Northern Death Tour, actually.
Yeah, I heard about that. I'm happy for him. I have not had the opportunity to do a Northern Death tour yet, but I would like to do it one day for sure.
Sorry for my coughing there, audience. I just don't know how to mute myself exactly yet, but I'm learning it. I think the first tip to being a good podcaster would be learning how to mute yourself, but I'll get there. I'll get there. All right, well, Mr. Shaw, you definitely have a great track record, and, you've made a big name for yourself these past few years on the Alberta scene. When it comes down to it, if you could just convince anybody on the street, whether that's somebody listening to the Jordan Garber Now podcast or someone down your block to check out a show, why should someone check out a real Canadian wrestling show as opposed to any other promotion out there?
Well, like I say, it's always exciting. Right now, we are the only regularly running federation in Alberta. I believe PPW in Lethbridge is doing some shows, but I'm not sure if they're open to fans or if they're just doing sort of like a warehouse wars type thing. I know MPW has started doing shows again as well, but I'm not trying to bury MPW. I love their shows when I go see them, but they only do one show a month, right? So, and RCW, we've got shows on Friday night, Saturday night, and from what I hear, as soon as a few more restrictions will be lifted, we're going to be also adding a night on Thursday. So 3 shows a week, like
Lots of opportunity.
yeah, it's an awesome opportunity for the wrestlers, and it's an awesome opportunity for the fans that want something to do.
Well,
To get out there weekly and enjoy the show.
it's funny because like before we wrap things up, you think during the pandemic people would have more like 10, 20 matches a year, and now it's like it's back to weekly wrestling again, which was like around in the 90s in Winnipeg, and they had a lot of that going on back in the 90s and a lot of indie things. And with RCW bringing that back, wrestlers they want to be working 4 or 5 matches a week, especially if they're just coming out
Mm-hmm.
of training. That's an amazing start. So credit to RCW doing something that is not easy, and credit to you for being a great worker, great wrestler so far in your career, and a great ring announcer, and doing the same thing that I do. I just want to make friends with people that have the same volume and passion, not just for professional wrestling, but for the podcasting product in general.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy it. I love ring announcing. I have heard a lot of like people say that I'm really good at it, and whatnot, and I always appreciate that. There's a lot of people that think I'm a far better ring announcer than wrestler. But the thing is, while I love ring announcing, I just absolutely love wrestling. Like
Working in front of a
I would
crowd.
I would wrestle over ring announcing any night. But I you know, it is what it is.
I know what you mean at that point too, because at the end of the day, the best part is working in front of a crowd. And as a
Yeah, I
referee,
mean the thing is, sorry to cut you off.
yeah, no problem.
Like the reason I love wrestling over ring announcing, and don't get me wrong, it's important to have a good ring announcer, somebody that's like into it and having a good time and knows what they're doing and can hype the crowd. That's all great, but nobody's coming to the show to see the ring announcer, you know?
No,
So that's why I love wrestling. It's purely like I get to be in the spotlight, and I absolutely am thrilled to do that, you know?
absolutely. Well, where can people follow you on social media? Check out more projects you have coming up, things along those lines.
Well, my most active social media is my personal Facebook page, Kyle Shaw, on Facebook. I friend most people that send me a request, so you can shoot me a friend request on Facebook to Kyle Shaw. I also do have a Canadian Goose page on Facebook, but I don't tend to use it that much. I am the Canadian Goose on Instagram. I'm also at Monday Night Shaw on Twitter, which brings me to my podcast. I do have a podcast as well. It's called Monday Night Shaw. I've been doing it for 2 years now, pretty much exactly. Um, and it's been a wonderful ride too, just getting to talk to people. Like as you know, like hearing stories, learning from people. It's a wonderful experience to just shoot the shit with people. Uh, Apologies if I'm not allowed to cuss.
No, you can swear. You can do what you gotta do, my man. You can do what you gotta do.
Right on. Yeah, no. So like yeah, and Monday Night Shaw is available on Podbean, Spotify, all kinds of like podcast network and stuff. The way to find it though is you have to search for Backbreaker Media Network because my podcast is one of a few that are on Backbreaker Media Network. We used to be on Backbreaker Media Network, then it changed over to Wing Column Sports Network through Spencer Love, and then Spencer decided to shut down Wing Column Sports Network, so we went back to Backbreaker Media Network, and I'm now currently dealing with Mike Mike Maloney, and Mike the Ref is what we all call him, and he's currently my Backbreaker Media Network boss who edits all my podcasts and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely check out Monday Night Shaw.
Absolutely
I
check out.
recently actually just to like you're in Winnipeg, right? So I might as well let everybody know the next episode of Monday Night Shaw, which probably won't drop this Monday. It'll probably be next Monday. Is going to be with the Boston Bruiser Kevin O'Doyle. So it's
Ooh,
already
amazing.
in the can and ready to be posted soon.
Well, that's gonna be great. I'm gonna be sure to check that out. I'm gonna be one of the first to do that. And thanks for being on, Miss Kyle Shaw. You've always have a great podcast as well. I have to say that. So thanks very much for your time, and wish you nothing but best and well wishes.
Yeah, no problem. I should just mention too that if you are in Winnipeg and you do want to see me or the Canadian Goose, I have just been talking with some of the guys for the um, oh, I am blanking on the actual name of the federation, but it's the Christian
Oh,
National
the
Wrestling Exhibition.
CNWEA.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I was supposed to be out there for a show for them last month, but unfortunately, I have an injury, so I wasn't able to go all the way and do that show. But I have agreed to be there on October the 30th.
And I
So
have tickets for
I
that,
look forward
actually.
to that.
I
Oh, solid.
do want to say that on the Jordan Garber Now podcast as well. We're going to have some more CNWEA stars as well. I see that Wavell Star, we talked to him about being on the show, as well as some other names. So be sure to check that out as well. Tickets are $20 in advance, $25 at the door, Friday, October 30th at the Sudanese Center, 129 Dagmar Street. Also, Saturday, September 26th at Club St. B. Classic River City Wrestling. I guess that's associated with CNWEA. That is Rob Stardom, against Mentalo at Club St. B Saturday, September 26th. I have tickets to both, but Kyle Shaw,
Nice.
who's on this podcast, will be at the one live Friday, October 30th. Any other shows
Yep,
coming
yep,
up, or
and
just
and
those?
and I'm very hopeful that I will be good to go by then and can actually wrestle. I was told that if I'm unable to wrestle, I can work as a manager. I'd also, I'd be happy to ring announce as well. So uh, either situation comes, I should be there, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I hope to see a bunch of new people out in Winnipeg. It'll be cool.
Absolutely. Well, you will certainly see me there. And Kyle Shaw, thank you so much for being on the Jordan Garber Now podcast.
Yep, no problem, buddy. Honk, honk, honk.